Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, I'm going to be doing part 6 of a very popular series I started about 5 months ago, titled Man Outsmarts Cheating Wife by Recording Her Getting Salami and Sending the Videos to Her Family. And guys, that's all about the story about the guy who's married his wife for like 10 years, I think. He's in his 30s. They were both overweight before the relationship and during the relationship. And recently, she joined a gym, changed her diet, lost a bunch of weight, as did he. And to no surprise, she started getting attention from other dudes. And to really speed it along, she started having an affair with her personal trainer. Once again, the old personal trainers. And he catches her and all that. Catches on video, and he eventually kicks her to the curb. It's over. And over the course of the different updates, he then found out who it was. The guy got him fired because he was, hooking up with a member at the gym, all that. And she's begging and pleading for a second chance. This guy ain't having it. And as you can appreciate, the guy, it was his wife, so emotional roller coaster and all that. And it ended with her, he went to the hospital because he's having a nervous breakdown, and guess who shows up? Her. Doesn't want to see her, all that. And it's been a whole journey for him. And now we are where it's going to start off here, and this is a long one, as you can see, where it got to the point that it's time to call for a divorce. That they get divorced, but prior to the divorce, with her lawyer, she wanted to do some marriage counseling. And he had to do it. And you're going to see in this story all the BS that goes on in the marriage counseling. The tactics the marriage counselor uses to try to obviously get in this guy's head, try to get them to work things out even though they shouldn't. All the blame game, all the, lack of accountability, assigning blame in other places except for herself that she does to justify her affair and all that, and the emotional roller coaster he goes through. But ultimately, you're going to see this guy will divorce her, thank the Lord. But anyhow, guys, that'd be a very good one to show you just how ridiculous it is when somebody wants to end a marriage, the crap they have to go through, the BS in the marriage counseling, the lack of accountability she has, he just never ceases to amaze me. And also how a guy needs to stay firm for what he wants to do and walk away. So, being this long, because this is very long, I'll try to keep the comments to a minimum as best I can. So, picks up where it left off. He says, hi again, champions. Thank you all for your DMs and comments asking for an update. Sorry to tell you, depression has kicked in. Let me walk you through. Several things have happened in the last few months, but today, February 17th, my divorce is complete. I am a single man again. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, bro. Good for you. However, he says here, but first, let's go back to October of 2022. At least I had a good peak of my life as a single man. I've been going to my parents' house to learn to cook. I like cooking a lot. Last week I made bread myself. It was kind of ugly, but delicious. I practice a lot to bake a cake for my godchildren for the next birthday next March. Also, I noticed I'm very intolerant towards cheating topics. Have you seen the sitcom The Office? It used to crack me up, but now that I saw the cheating and gaslighting in real life, it stopped being funny to me. Even if they try to hide it as romance, I can't tolerate it. I bet none of the writers have been cheated on. Probably none of the writers have been laid either. I spoke to my attorney, and he mentioned that Bird Brain is the personal trainer that was nailing his wife, lawsuit proceeded, and that reminded me I wanted to have a chat with Frank. Frank was the Bird Brain's boss. Long story short, I met Frank, and he told me that Bird Brain was fired the same Monday I met him. And yes, he was living illegally at Frank's father's house. Since Bird Brain was his employee for years, Frank made a civic lawsuit for trespassing, meaning he can't be near Frank for any of his properties for the next 5 years. If he does, the police will be involved. By the way, English is not this guy's first language, but he does it pretty good. I asked if Jane's his ex, or soon-to-be ex, would be sued too, but he said Bird Brain confessed she was unaware of the situation, and she just went to the house to exercise with his guidance. And he says, besides, Frank assumed Jane and I were still together, and he felt he owed me that. Frank is very cordial and friendly. He was cheated on in his youth, so he has zero tolerance on this topic. He gave me something. He said, you're going to love this. He showed me his phone. It was a soundless video from one of his CCTV cameras. It took me a minute to recognize it was showing that gym's cafeteria. All tables are empty but one. There is a man sitting with his back to the camera. Then a hugely muscular back appears, and I recognize Harry walking towards this man. I ask, is that? And he says yes. And I continue watching. Harry puts his hand on Birdbrain's shoulder, and then Birdbrain covers his face with his hands. In other words, this jackass was about to be fired. I can tell they are chatting, and finally both men walk towards the camera, and Birdbrain's face can be seen clearly for a few seconds. Sad expression, red eyes, and tears in his cheeks. Yeah, Mr. Tough Guy here has got fired, and look at him crying and carrying on. He's like some of the Google employees that lost their job a month ago. They were all crying about it. I'm sure you saw that. The video ends when they are out of the screen. We both laughed. I said, I'm going to put this video as my screensaver. It was taken the day before Birdbrain was fired. I've gone to my first session with the psychiatrist. He said I have signs of depression due to my anxiety combined with my insecurities. So he prescribed a soft antidepressant pill daily until the next session. At the time, I don't feel any different. Also, I started taking kickboxing classes. My coach told me I have good reflexes, but I have a long way to go. Well, that's something that's really going to make him feel better, to exercise. And martial arts, you're getting a whole lot of exercise. And yes, he may have good reflexes, but of course he has a long way to go. Nobody's going to become great at kickboxing or martial arts after a month of training. You want to talk about years of training. And this guy needs some hardcore, tough training because this guy, although a good guy and understandable, he's got things to work out emotionally. He says, Jane took all her stuff from our condo. She also took our marriage big picture. My brother's friend gave me a good idea. I'll sacrifice the living room to make another bedroom and make the dining room and kitchen a common area. So it will have 3 bedrooms. I hired a guy to take care of it. My attorney informed me that Jane has her own attorney now, and he requested a meeting. I asked what I have to do, and he told me to play along. He'll do all the talking, I just have to agree. Listen to your lawyer. That's what you're paying him for. Unless my lawyer thinks they make an unreasonable request, he'll ask for a timeout to discuss it with me. The following week, the meeting took place in Jane's attorney's office. Jane was stunning and very quiet. She was trying to steal glances from me. After the proper introductions, her attorney, a 50-ish male, mentioned since I've already refused to pay alimony, the issue concerning to her client won't be mentioned, James' adultery. My attorney said that that's fine if it is listed for the record, which her attorney reluctantly agreed. They then proceeded to split our assets, which was pretty fast because I don't want anything, and Jane said she has taken everything that she treasures. Besides, we didn't have expensive stuff. Finally, her attorney asked for 5 sessions of marriage counseling and added if I agree and attend with an open mind and honesty, his client guarantees a smooth divorce. 5 freaking marriage counseling sessions, what's that going to do? She's just hoping that she can manipulate this guy, and the marriage counselor can manipulate this guy into changing his mind. That's what this is all about. My attorney reduced them to 3 and no contact between sessions. I made a worried face to my attorney, and he kicked my foot under the table, meaning for me to play along. I saw Jane, and she was making a face I've seen when she really, really wants me to do something, so I made a face of, okay, you win. And she smiled. Marriage language again. Later, I asked my attorney if marriage counseling is necessary. He said it is. Again, keep in mind, this is a different country, guys. Because the judge who will be assigned to our case may agree with Jane since she's making the attempt at reconciliation while I'm not. Or the judge may agree that with me and ignore it. So attending the marriage counseling is a necessary risk. I said she was the one who cheated, and he told me I've already asked for a compensation, and the judge will overlook her adultery. The judge has the power to divorce us right there and then, and he or she may order more counseling and or a period of reconciliation. It's like flipping a coin. So clearly it boils down to the judge. I'm willing to bet you that if it was opposite, and she was the one leading the charge in the divorce, it'd be a different ball game. Call me crazy. I think that's what would happen. Moving on to mid-October, we attended our first session. Now you're about to hear, guys, how she behaves in the sessions, how the therapist behaves, especially in session number 2. Then you'll really be getting into the good stuff. We sat on big sofas in front of each other and in the middle of the counselor. Let's call her Dolores. After hearing all the background and the main point of our divorce, she asked both of us what we expect. What do we expect? He doesn't want to fucking be there. He wants to be divorced from this chick. I said I just want to be amicable, but I still want the divorce. And Jane said she wants to reconcile. Pfft. Fat chance, Chubbs. She asked for Jane's opinion about my goal, and she said that she doesn't want a divorce, that she's never stopped loving me. Really? Well, your actions say otherwise. I was about to argue, but the counselor asked me not to interrupt. Then she asked me about Jane's goal. I said, I don't think we can reconcile because I don't trust her anymore, and I think she's in love with her affair partner. This time, Jane wanted to say something, but the counselor asked Jane to not interrupt. Yeah, good luck with that. Then she asked me why I think that. I mentioned the gaslighting, how she was giggling the day before D-Day, and how eager she was to get rid of me on D-Day. It was Jane's turn to talk. She swears that she does not love Birdbrain. She's never told him, I love you, but she doesn't. She barely spoke to him during the day, even though he was constantly sending messages to her. She assures me she doesn't know important stuff like his birthday, but she confessed she liked the thrill, the secrecy, the staring from other people. She wanted to show me her phone that she wasn't talking to Birdbrain that night. So she admitted that when she started getting all the attention because she lost weight, she loved the thrill of it, the secrecy. And in a moment, you're going to see how she uses that to justify her actions. And she's showing him her phone. Well, guess what? That doesn't matter now because you could have wiped it clean. I said her phone is useless because she used to delete conversations. Right. Dolores mentioned there are apps that can recover deleted messages. I said, oh yeah? But Jane was silent and I could see she was thinking very fast. See? Dolores and I stared at her and she was making nervous movements and I said, will you give me your phone? Jane looked like she wanted to argue but kept silent. I said, you are still in contact with him, aren't you? Jane almost screamed, no, I swear. But she was hesitant about giving me her phone, and finally she gave it to me and said, please remember, the Jane who texted you is not me anymore. Okay, I didn't do that. That was the other Jane. Oh, okay, that makes everything better. I said, what does that mean? She says, I beg you, don't make me say it. I was in the fog. I asked Dolores about this affair fog. She told me from her experience, it looks like the judgment is clouded by the excitement and focus on a new relationship, so the subject's mind can't comprehend or just ignores the consequences of their actions. It varies a lot from person to person. Jane told me, I'm deeply sorry for all I texted to him. Now I can't understand why I was so disrespectful to you. At that moment, I wasn't sure if I'd want to know what she meant. If she trashed me like Birdbrain did. It'd be a massive blow to me. I confided her everything about me. So you all heard that part about essentially the affair fog. How the therapist is trying to pretty much use it, as this woman, to justify her actions. That she was in the affair fog, so like a disease or an illness, that person isn't justified. That justifies their actions because they couldn't control themselves. It was a disease, the affair fog. Therefore, you can't be mad at them. Again, the old joke about women and accountability. Next, Dolores asked me what it takes for me to reconcile. Hey, marriage counseling bitch, I don't want to reconcile. I told her there are two major obstacles and I don't see how to overcome. Number one, she lied for a long time and I can't trust her anymore. And number two, I can't be intimate with her ever again since she gave her body to another man. There you go. Every time. If there's no trust, the relationship won't work. Period. And he's always going to imagine her with the other dude. And he's never going to trust what she's saying, what she's doing, amongst other things. Sometimes you just cut ties and walk away. This made Jane tear up. Oh, poor Jane. She says it was purely physical, like using a toy. Get the fuck out of here. Comparing another dude, a long affair, with using just a SCX toy. No. Besides, she swears Birdbrain wasn't very impressive at all. I reminded her my reason number one. She insisted, almost desperate, and said, OP, I never made love to him. You are the only one. I just felt angry and yelled back, and that's why you didn't touch me for the last months. Yeah, I remember now. In the first story, she wasn't touching him at all. And I believe he was trying to initiate contact because, gee, that's his wife. So it's reasonable that he'd want to have relations with his wife. Nope, she wasn't interested. But she said, I didn't love him, therefore didn't count. And he was like a toy. In my opinion, she's treating all these guys like her own little personal play toys. Dolores asked Jane her reasoning to cheat on me, and she spoke of being the chubby girl bullied and ignored. She was very lonely when she was a teenager, and at university she was a friend with some of the girls, but they tended to leave her behind. If it weren't for her great grades, they would have completely ignored her. Okay, you didn't get a lot of attention when you were younger. You were an ugly duckling, and you lost the weight and you look good. So you're going to screw over the guy who's been good to you and loved you when you weren't as physically attractive? It's no excuse. Again, trying to get out of blame. Then we met, and it was like finding a twin soul. When she lost her weight, all the fat went to very strategic places that made her look very voluptuous. At first, it was scary when men would stare at her, but when Flirty and her friends told her that she's hot and beautiful, that she must be confident of herself. That's when she started enjoying the attention, and her ego went to the clouds when she saw Bird Brain staring at her too. She lost the weight, and all of a sudden dudes were checking her out at the gym, wherever she went, and so was her personal trainer. And I guarantee that personal trainer had many a gals that he saw were losing weight, so I was like, okay, I'll flirt with them, be charming with them when they're still chubby, and once they lose the weight, boom, I'm onto them. Says here, she told me, you don't know how it feels to be ugly. I told her I do. I lost count of all the rejections and friend zoning that I had. At a job, a female colleague made a list of handsome male colleagues, and I didn't figure in it. I'm still unattractive, and I don't care because I had a person who loved me. But that person traded me for a better-looking guy. That sentence made her tear up again. I belong to an ethnicity very bullied in my country, associated to poverty and ugliness. I had very hurtful nicknames, and according to my therapist, that's what made me gain weight. Like an armor to protect my wounded ego. Dolores asked if I can see that she's remorseful. I said I can tell that she is, but just because she got caught, not for her cheating. There you go. Jane said she knows she screwed up, and that's why she confessed to all the people we both know. Dolores was specifically interested in this confession and asked Jane why she's confessed to people unaware of our marital problems. She said she knew that she deserved a punishment, and it wasn't enough, my anger and cold shoulder. Many people called her and berated her. She listened to every word, every insult, and every swearing. Sister-in-law can confirm she did. Okay, well, that's great and all, but still, it's not going to change what happened. It's not going to change how he feels. It's not going to change he doesn't trust her, amongst many other things. There's a point, you just cut your losses and move on. Sheila has lost friendships, and mostly my relatives have disowned her, but she gladly took the bitter step, and it would help reconcile with me. I was out of words. Dolores told me most unfaithful people tend to hide their cheating as a negation mechanism, but Jane did not. She owned her mistake, and that's something I should give her credit for. Fine, good for you. Can we move on? I asked what would have happened if I was still unaware. If today I were still clueless. She said Bird Brain was still getting very aggressive, and he was demanding either he or she tell me about the affair. He used to scare her, saying something would happen to me, and she was afraid of what he would do. I don't know if I buy this. In her own words, I think you'll find out that was the best thing that could happen. It made me react and realize how screwed up I was. I told her I know Bird Brain is in love with her, and she already knew. That's why he hates me and used to trash me, and he was demanding to disrespect me in my own house. He knew if I was in the picture, Jane will never be his. Dolores asked me, what does your wife win asking for this marriage counseling? If she's so in love with Bird Brain, wouldn't she be eager to divorce you sooner? Why is she making all this effort? I must remind you that she has already lost her acquaintances, respect, and I couldn't answer. I know I'm not her meal ticket. She has a very decent job, and she can get another one very easily. She's not homeless, nor disowned from her sister. Then I said, for the sake of the argument, let's say we reconcile and we live together again. What would happen then? I'll doubt everything she tells me. Every time I'm not looking, I'd suspect. It'd be torture for me. Jane said, I know it would be difficult, but I'd never give you any reason to doubt me. And I responded, you wouldn't for now, but what about in 2 years when the dust settles? When I have all the signs of trusting you again and another douchebag catches your eye or stares at you. Jane kneeled in front of me, looking at me in the eyes, and says, I'd never hurt you ever again. The two most devastating experiences I recently had were when I received the divorcing papers and thinking you may have been badly injured when they called me from the hospital. If you give me another chance, I'll always remember this 2 times I thought I lost you and devote my life to making us happy. I was out of words again, so I just scoffed again. By that time, the session was over. So that is session number 1. We still got 2 more of these things. But listen to all the crying and how, I was in the affair fog and the marriage counselor backing up the affair fog thing and basically taking blame away from her. It's like, good Lord. All this guy does, he wants to do is just get away from her. But he has to play his BS game because if he doesn't, the judge may make it worse. He says, at home, I checked Jane's phone. I noticed that Bird Brain is still blocked. I unblocked him and a lot of messages came in. It says here, I also bought an app to recover deleted messages. I was very nervous. I got most of the earlier messages back. The older ones were difficult, so I got a few of them. I was expecting that she'd be disrespectful to me, but she tries not to mention me. I found some of the sexting conversations, but knowing Jane, she didn't enjoy it. Birdbrain uses rude words a lot, and Jane hates that. He called her babe and some other ridiculous pet names. I'd even dare to use when we were in the honeymoon phase. She got pissed off if he called her babe. You gotta be shitting me. What, is she a freaking effeminist? I've called all my girls babe, and I will always call them babe whenever I have girls. Lots of love yous from him, but I didn't find a single one from her. I felt some relief and then punched myself because I shouldn't feel that way. Also, as Jane said, Birdbrain used to mock me. He called me fatty, pathetic loser, and little girl. Whenever he mentions me, Jane said, I don't want to talk about my husband. In the most recent messages, I can tell whenever she didn't play along, Birdbrain got angry and told her that he was on his way to my job to tell me everything, while she begged him not to. Obviously, it was just a bluff. He doesn't know where I work. I looked for the messages at D-Day -1, and she didn't text him. No call records either. I snooped some more, and she saw she was messaging to a group chat with Flirty and 2 other girls at night. Oh yeah, she had female coworkers that were egging her on as well. That's another thing. They're hilarious. Some of their comments made me chuckle. At D-Day +1, Jane was kicked out of the group. The next marriage counseling session, it was related to our past. Now you're going to see how the marriage counselor goes down memory lane to try to get him emotional about how they met and all that. I mean, it's just the stuff that this is actually useful to see the tactics the marriage counselors use. Dolores, the marriage counselor, asked how we met. It was at the university. We were both in the library doing homework. I had the last copy of a certain book. Jane asked me for it because she had to go home early, but I had to go to my job. So we both needed it, and I told her we can photocopy. We were in different careers, but we had the same teacher, so the assignment was the same. We chat while we were on the line. We hit it on, and I noticed how beautiful, intelligent, and kind she is. She just thought I was a good person. I lent her the book, and I got the photocopies, and I arrived late for work, but I felt it was totally worth it. We were friendly and until I invited her out, but she turned me down. From there, I greeted her in the hallway like a friend, but I didn't make a move on her. So I asked her out, and she turned him down. Suddenly, a week later, she invited me out. I babbled a yes, and we started dating. Next, Dolores asked me what made us fall in love with each other. Blech. In my case, it was when I took Jane to eat Japanese food for the first time. I like sushi very much, or hibachi, but that's not going to make me fall in love with a chick. She was clumsily trying to eat the chopsticks until she had enough and said, fuck this, and she pierced the meat and ate it that way. Well, that's also me eating Japanese. You should see me trying to eat with chopsticks. It's freaking hilarious. I never heard her cursing before, so it made me laugh, and I said, I love you for the first time. Smack. No man should ever say I love you the first time. Wait for the girl to do it. I already put him in a position that she has more power in the relationship than him. But of course this guy did that first. Jane took longer, but she says it was in a trip we both took. She knew it was going to be our first time being intimate, but she had cold feet because she thought it would disappoint her father. Also, she was scared. Okay. She thought I would get mad and didn't tell me. At night, she started crying and apologized to me. I told her I'm not mad, and if she didn't feel ready, I understand. I want her to trust me and feel comfortable with me. So we cuddled and slept. She realized she felt secure with me, and that was the first time she told me the L word. That session, I didn't get angry nor yelled at, and I had a nice remembering good old times. I gave Jane her phone back, and I told her I believed her she's not in love with Birdbrain. She took her phone, smiled at me, and left without a word. She's really respecting my no contact request. So that was marriage counseling session number 2. Pretty uneventful, but the point is, the marriage counselor has him going down memory lane. It says here, the following Sunday, one of my cousins, let's call her Karen, interesting choice of female names here, threw a Halloween party at a bar, and she invited me. No disguises were required. So I groomed and attended to the party alone. Karen was one of the many people who received Jane's confession. She wrote her that she'll introduce me to a very hot date. So she introduced me to a friend of hers, a woman in her late 20s, very attractive. Let's call her Princess. I greeted her, and then I saw it. She made a face I've seen several times, like I had a giant booger dripping from my nose. A face of disgust and disappointment. I usually don't care about it because I had a beautiful wife. So already he's a single guy and his cousin's trying to fix him up with other girls. What you're going to see here, guys, this girl's not into him. And this guy takes it really hard. Too hard. And you're going to see how he starts thinking twice about wanting to call the marriage quits. It's a bad way to go, and I'll point out more. At the time, I was eager to see how much I've improved myself since none since the 18 years ago when I met Jane. She never gave me that look. She always looked happy to see me. That's why I fell fast and hard for her. Immediately, my defense mechanism acted, and I wanted to keep my distance from Princess, but Karen sat us both down and tried very clumsily to chat, but she was unresponsive. She took her phone out and texted while I tried to maintain the conversation. Body language, pay attention to girls' actions. You're trying to talk to her and all she does is look at her phone. She's not interested. But so what? She's not interested. But there'll be plenty of girls that are interested in this guy. You just have to find the ones that are. Another guy came over and told her, "Hey, here you are. I didn't know you were here. Want to dance?" She looked at me and said, "You don't mind, right?" And I said, "Go have fun." I saw them getting lost in the crowd, and while I kept thinking, so he didn't know she was here, but he was still looking for her. I bet she texted him, "Come over and save me from this creep." I looked for Karen. It took me some minutes to find her. She was talking to Princess. Before they noticed me, I clearly heard her say, "You said he's a catch?" "He is." And Karen saw me. They immediately got quiet, and I said, "I'm not feeling well, and I'm going home." Well, that had to hurt. But again, not every woman's going to be into him. All right? You can be the best gut-looking guy in the world. Not every woman's going to like you. But don't let that ruin you. I told Princess, "Sorry for not meeting your expectations." She shrugged. Karen had daggers in her eyes. When I got home, I thought she was just going to be some materialistic witch, but she moved some dark old feelings from my youth. I couldn't stop them coming for me. I'll be alone forever now. Childless, wifeless. I'm a very unattractive man. It'll be very hard for me to build another relationship. I'm almost 45 and alone and a total loser. Well, just because you're 45 and don't have a chick doesn't make you a loser. That's the narrative, and it's bullshit. There are plenty of guys watching this right now. They're 30s, 40s, 50s, alone by choice, and they're quite happy. What's the better option? Be with some a-hole that you can't trust? I had another anxiety attack. My therapist told me what to do. I got under my sheets, covered my head to toes, and I was crying, trembling, and sobbing. I don't know for how long until I woke up early the next morning. My pillow was wet because of my tears and sweat. My head hurt, and I sat in my bed staring at the floor for almost an hour, lost in my dark thoughts until my alarm rang. It was time to get up, but I didn't. I felt out of energy. This guy needs a lot of work. I get that he was obviously rejected a lot when he was younger. Nobody likes that. And he felt like he was the ugly duckling and overweight and all that. But just because of one rejection doesn't mean it's all over. He just has to work on himself, and in time he'll develop that confidence. Work on himself, work on his body, work on his personality. Don't have a meltdown, because it's the women that have the meltdowns over one rejection. He says, I didn't go to the gym. I sat in the shower floor to sob, and I went to work. One of my close colleagues, some guy who lent me his car, noticed I was very quiet and slow. He told me I looked sad, and I finally understood depression has kicked in. The following day, I received some text from Karen apologizing for her friend. I ignored it and tried to go to the gym, but I felt like my energy was cut in half or less. I was tired very quickly. I didn't complete my session and went home. The following Tuesday, I got my godchildren trick-or-treating with my sister-in-law. He says, in Mexico, we do this on November 1st and 2nd. Aha! He's from Mexico. Okay. The third and final session was 3 days after Karen's party. I arrived and tried to make a good face, but I failed. It took some minutes for Jane to notice that I was not the same. She asked me if I was okay. I faked a smile and said I'm fine. But she stared at me and I couldn't see her in the eyes, and she asked Dolores if we can reschedule because OP is not feeling well. I insisted I'm fine, but Jane said, that's a lie. I can tell you're not fine. Lady, you're about to be my ex-wife. Mind your freaking business. Let's do this goddamn third marriage session and be over with it. Unfortunately, he's in a weakened state and he doesn't have the balls to stand up for himself. Dolores asked me, what am I feeling? I didn't want to look weak in front of Jane, but then she said, he's sad. I looked at her surprised, and she sat next to me and asked, what's wrong? She grabbed my hand at this time, but I didn't reject her. I just saw her big, beautiful brown eyes scanning my soul. So this guy's worn down. He's gotten to a depression state again, worn down because of the rejection, questioning his actions, and she can see that. And it's unfortunate I've become so cynical, but life has taught me that, has made me that way. But she's seeing weakness in him, coming over to his rescue. They're there. He's sad and sees an opportunity. I'm ashamed to admit I started to sob. I put my elbows on my knees and teared up a bit. Jane caressed my back and regained some composure. And I regained some composure. My nose was running and my eyes were red. I went to the restroom and wet my face. When I returned, I sat next to Jane. I saw she had tears on her face, and Dolores asked me the reason of my sadness. Jane said with trembling voice it was her fault. I agreed to be honest and told her that it's not because of her. My insecurities are giving me a rough time. Don't admit that you're insecure or behave like that in front of a woman. It's going to make them lose respect for you or see an opportunity to get the upper hand with you. Again, it's unfortunate that it's that way, and I have to say that, but it's the reality. Jane stopped crying, grabbed my face with both of her hands and placed it in front of hers, nose to nose. She said, "OP, I really hate when you say you're unattractive." That's when she started numbering all the things that she likes about me. She also added, "When I undressed you at the hospital and you were in your underwear, the nurses and I thought, hubba hubba." That's bullshit. That made me chuckle and I did feel better. "I can see you're in better shape than I remember," she said. I glanced at Dolores and she was silent the whole time, staring at us. She said, "You both can still work on a new marriage. Your previous marriage is done, but a new concept could work for both of you." This is in the past. They are not divorced officially, but when she's saying their marriage is over and could have a new one. See? He's having a bad day and she is swooping in to use him being worn down. And he's second-guessing everything because he got that rejection. And it's understandable because he was with her a long time. Emotional roller coaster, but you can't let yourself be derailed. His gut knows this is not the right thing to be with her. That's my advice if you want to take it, Dolores said. Jane loved that idea. Well, of course she did. I said, "I'm not sure about that, and I'll discuss it with my lawyer and my therapist." Do not go back with her. You're having a moment of weakness. It can happen to the best of us, but do not go back to her. And I hope like hell his lawyer and therapist says no. The rest of the session, we talked about our life so far individually. I didn't know Jane got another job in a different company, doing the same thing she did in the previous one, and she's still in therapy. I mentioned I'm learning to cook and trying to focus on mental health. She asked the good points and bad points of being separated. I mentioned I'm busier and it helps me go on. I didn't mention something that I miss. I did mention sometimes I miss my wife, but Jane did. She says she hates me being alone and not in her house, and her husband, who she loves dearly, and presses my hand. Well, we know whose fault that is. I hadn't noticed we were sitting next to each other, and she was still holding my hand. I'm sorry to admit it that in that moment of darkness, her warm touch felt like a pure ray of light. Uh-oh, but don't worry. The session was over. Dolores signed the documents given by our attorneys. We walked together and I took her to the car, still unsure about my feelings for her. She asked me if the no contact request was over. I told her I guess. She then asked me if we can have a date for my birthday, mid-November. When she saw my face of worry, she hurried to me and said it was only dinner. She just wanted us to chat like the good old times. Sure. I agreed, but asked for no kisses and no excessive touching. We agreed to meet 2 weeks later, one day before my birthday. Meanwhile, I asked for no contact again. So, gentlemen, that is the end of this story here. Now, let's remember what you just heard now, this whole long video, was what happened months ago. It began in present day, November 17th, when they are divorced. So, in spite of everything you heard in the marriage counseling and her putting blame on everybody else, the affair fog, and that wasn't the real me, that was a different Jane, and the marriage counselor's attempts to get them to get back together, still, they got divorced, which is great. So obviously somewhere between the end of this thing here with them leaving the marriage counseling, he obviously came to his senses, I hope. But I don't think his updates are over. I'm hoping like hell he didn't get back with her and is hiding it and everything, because it's just a bad idea. And what he was in here and his gut was telling him, I'm never going to trust you again. You're with that guy. You broke me in a story. Going back to her just because some chick rejected him, it's a bad way to go. Because at the end of the day, not every girl's going to want you. And there are a lot of guys out there that know darn well they should break up with their girlfriend or their wife. And then they get rejected one time. And then that's it. They want to go back to them because that's better than being alone. And that's just a bad way to go. And so I'm assuming, because they got divorced, that he's moved on. I hope. We shall see. All right, guys, as ever today, be sure to comment down below. Let me just think about this. Let me know what if you guys have been through divorce. Was your marriage counseling that you had to go through because of what the court said, or if you did it, was it like that? And I'd like to hear about that in the comments. Just let me know what that was like and all that. And also let me know about what you think about her. Oh, it was the affair fog. Not me, but it was the affair fog. Let's hear what you have to say about that. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.